can create your own account on GitHub, then how to install Git and configure it on your local machine, and then you can make maybe changes to your code and then push the changes, like upload your changes to GitHub using what the tool Git, right? So let's look at this slide. There are not many, like just maybe 10 minutes at most, yeah. So welcome to Git and GitHub. Then let's see, I have a small checklist here that is showing what you're going to do. So first we're going to define the tool Git and GitHub. Then we're going to look at applications of Git and GitHub. So like what you can use. Like who can use this one? Like who uses the Git and GitHub? You can see, and then we can look at the application part of Git and GitHub. Then lastly, we shall look briefly at this is version control. So let's jump in. So the first thing is for you to understand what GitHub is. So GitHub is a cloud-based hosting service that lets you manage Git repositories. So it's simply a storage, right? It's a storage that is cloud-based, unlike maybe your hard disk on your local machine, the hard disk. It's more like the storage you have, only that this one now is cloud-based. It means you can access it online, right? Anyone can access it anytime from anywhere, given that they have a good internet connection. So this GitHub, this storage called GitHub, is used to store what they call GitHub repositories. So GitHub repositories are simply folders, files and folders, right? So you can have maybe your let me talk about maybe your index.html. That's a Git file, right? Now in that case, it will be a Git file. But then remember, when you're creating your project, you will create a folder for your project, right? So the entire folder will be a Git repository. So when you push it or when you upload it onto GitHub, they'll be called Git repositories. So when you go to GitHub, GitHub now the storage, you will see your folders there, and those are what we call GitHub. The Git repositories. Then, so this GitHub is mostly comes to be used when people are working on open source projects. So open source project, it means it's not owned by anyone technically. Of course there is an owner, but then literally like anyone can contribute, anyone can make changes to the project, to the source code. Anyone can download it to their own machine, like local machine, and work on it, and then upload it back to the GitHub and see if their changes can be accepted, their contribution can be accepted, right? So that's an open source project. So when you're working on an open source project, it can be maybe more than 50 people, 1,000 people working on a single project, right? So then how do you track the changes? To track the changes from such a huge number of people, you need to use Git, the tool. We shall look at Git in the next slide. But then when you're working on an open source project, we love to use Git So Git will help you to manage your source projects in a simpler way and much better than when you're working on it manually, right? Because then you can be pushing it to GitHub. Yeah, you push your changes to GitHub, then they're compared with the original code and see if there is something that is conflicting. If there is nothing that is conflicting with the changes you made, then the code can be merged with your changes can be merged with the source code, and and someone else can also be merged, and then you continue building the project. So that's why they say this GitHub is just a storage service, and when you're working on these huge open source projects, then you will have to use Git, which then will help you to know what to monitor your code, right? So let's move on to this. Now, what's Git? So Git is a version control system that lets you manage and keep track of your source code history. So version means like you'll be having different forms of your code. Maybe for the first time you created a feature. Let's say maybe you are creating something like a chatting app, right? Now, if for the first time you create a feature maybe where people can log in, right? Then now you have to create a feature which can enable people to log out, right? So the original code, the first code, which is the first version, had only the means for people to log in. Now when you go back and create a logout functionality, then that's a change and that's a different version, right? So the way you can monitor the changes you're making to your code is by use of Git, right? That's why they say Git is a version control system that lets you manage and keep track of your source code. So it's a distributed version control system for tracking changes in source code during software development. Distributed means it operates across different systems. It can work on different operating systems without any problem, right? So it's popular among software engineers because most of the projects that are being worked on, especially when you're creating a software, you cannot create it on your own. It's possible, but then that's too much work because you'll have to have someone who designs, someone who will work on different people who will be working on different features, right? So everyone will be contributing and they'll be pushing their changes. Then that's the time that you will need this Git, the tool, to track the changes that are being made to the code, to your software, right? Then it is designed for connecting work among programmers, but it can be used to track changes in n set of files. So in this case, it's flexible. It's not limited to only software engineers or such people, programmers. No, it gives a chance to everyone. Anyone can use it. You can say if you can manage n set of files, means even if you're a lawyer or something like a teacher, you can still keep it. You can track changes that you're making to your files using Git, right? So moving on, so what's the difference anyway? So someone might be wondering what the difference between the two. So Git is simply a version control system, right? It's a tool that's going to manage the source code history, the changes you're making. It's going to track everything that you're going to make on your files. Then GitHub on the other hand, so GitHub on the other hand is a hosting service for Git repositories. So when you have Git files or Git folders, this Git repositories, now you're supposed, or where you definitely going to keep them is on GitHub, right? So you make changes to your files, then you upload them to GitHub, right? The Git is the tool, but GitHub is the service for projects that are using on Git. This is clear, right? Who can use it? Who can use Git and GitHub? So the simple answer is that anyone can use Git and GitHub. Anyone can use it. Literally, anyone can use Git and GitHub, right? Then what can I use it for? So you can use Git and GitHub to manage and store any form of digital files. So this may include source code, poems, and novels, etc. Anything that is in digital form, you can use Git and GitHub to control the version, and what to monitor the changes you're making, and then keep it and store it in GitHub. So what's version control? So version control is just a mix of the two. So Git and GitHub equals version control. So when you monitor changes made to your file using Git, and then you upload them to GitHub, and the next time you make changes, then you put them to GitHub. It means you have the history of everything. So you'll be having different copies of snapshots, I can say, snapshots of your code at every time you're making changes, right? So you can say I have version 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the list continues. So that's what is called version control. So you get a better understanding of this as we continue with the lessons. So then yeah, that was our last slide. So I hope this is going to help you. So let's meet next time when we are creating our GitHub account, installing Git. I think we first install Git and configure it on the local machine. Then we can create a GitHub account and push some code to Git.